Welcome back to LJT MTG. We have another fun video for you today. Jer and I decided to have some fun on this channel for once.
Not
Uh, so
allowed.
Today we're going to be going over Edge of Eternities Limited. We'll get into some of our credentials, etc. in a little bit, but Jer and I have been playing this limited format since it came out on Tuesday on Arena, but we also got to do a cool two-headed giant together, which is something that we haven't been able to do in a while. So, we both have a lot of thoughts when it comes to current limited environments, and we'd love to talk about them. So, you get a bonus round video this week. Um, Before we continue, though, if you are liking this type of content, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and we'd love to hear from you in the comments on whether or not you are liking Edge of Eternities Limited or whether or not you're a limited fan in general. We recently did a video where Liam and I went through a Final Fantasy draft together because I had been drafting a lot of Final Fantasy. And it seemed like there were some limited fanatics among the LJT MTG viewership. So we love discussing limited, and that's why we're doing this. So get in the comments if you want to talk about the format in general, especially in the early days of the format. I find dialogue to be particularly helpful and a little more compelling than later stage in the format when things are figured out. So without further ado, we're going to move into our overview of Edge of Eternities Limited. So we are looking at doing a generic format overview. So this isn't going to be a full tilt set review. We're not going to show every single card. Um, Jer and I, when we talk about limited with each other, generally speaking, we're talking about how the format feels. When it comes down to it, Jer and I have done a lot of limited. Historically, I've been playing since I guess like 2010, 2011 limited. Whenever Innistrad came out is when I first started playing, and so I'm pretty confident in terms of my like gameplay and card evaluation skills for the most part in a raw vacuum. And so generally when Jared and I are talking, we're talking about these types of things that I've listed on the screen here. And then to talk about our credentials, in the past format, I had a 75% win rate in best of three traditional draft. If that doesn't give you enough credentials to like that I know what I'm talking about, then I don't know what to do for you. And I'm gonna say that Jer, I would say when Jer is on in a format, like when Jer is really invested and wants to win and be really competitive in a format, he's definitely at least as good as me, if not better. So, without further ado, let's move into it. I'll pass it to you here, Jer. Speed of the format. How fast is this format?
Um, Generally, I have found it to be fairly, at least on the slower side so far. I think white decks are generally trying to be pretty fast, but basically every other deck is pretty happy to slow down. Like lander tokens and spacecraft both lend to a slower format. You're like spending time to get more lands. Spacecrafts that are going to be in your deck aren't creatures right away. So, like, a bunch of the sort of inherent themes and mechanics of the set tend to lead to a slower speed.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think I would say that this format isn't really slow. Like it's still important to be on the board and it's still important to have board presence because you can get run over. Um, but you do want some later game haymakers, or if you're going to build a deck that's faster, you want to be really focused and really aggressive when it comes to your mulliganing decisions and making sure that you're on the board quick. I've definitely had games where both of us play a three drop on turn three, and that's like the first play of the game. But I've also had games where someone went like, one drop Edge of Rover, the 1 mana 2/2 reach in green into any two drop, and it already feels like I'm under so much pressure. So yeah, I would say this format is definitely on the slower side. I'd say, but I still think it's really important to be on the board and when that switch flips, like when they've spent their time stationing their spacecraft, or when they've spent the time like building up their board state, it feels like the swings in this format can happen really really fast and really drastically. um so it isn't as fast as say like Lost Caverns of Ixalan, or formats of that nature, where like if you don't play a thing on turn one you feel really far behind. um, but it is a format where you get a little bit of time to do stuff. And
Thinking back to recent formats, it feels kind of similar speed to Aether Drift to me, where like you can do big
mhm,
things, but like being on the board is still important.
I totally agree. And your analysis of like the reason that it's probably a little bit slower and haymakers matter a little more is because a lot of the themes do lend themselves to being a little bit slower, right? Specifically spacecraft and lander tokens are both themes that like want you to have a longer game to be able to press your advantage with those card types. um so in that same vein, what do you want your curve to look like how important are two drops in the grand scheme of things?
Um, yeah, I mean, going on from our previous point, two drops to me don't have like the biggest premium. Just because if you don't play a two drop, it's not like, oh god, I need to mulligan this hand or I'm gonna die if I don't have a two drop. I think there are a bunch of good two drops that you just want to include in your deck because they're good cards. So like happily take those. But yeah, I think as you mentioned, I'm like happier to go up the curve more than normal. Like in an aggressive deck, I'm still fine playing like a couple fives or a six drop, for example. In a bunch of my other decks, like I think like some of the best cards in the format cost 6 or 7 mana. Like
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I think the thing about two drops in this format is you want some early plays, whether or not it's two drop creature or removal spells, 1 or 2 mana removal spells. You definitely need to interact early in a lot of games, but you like it isn't a format where 2 mana 2/2 is really where you want to be. Like you want to be getting extra stuff with your creatures if they are a little underwhelming in terms of their power and toughness. I think the best example of this is the creature that makes a lander token when it dies. I'm blanking on the name.
two one
Beamsaw.
black creature. Yeah.
Beamsaw Prospector, like that card is something I would almost never play on rate. Like 2 mana 2/1 is just not playable these days, even 2 mana 2/2 a lot of the time. But the fact that it makes the lander token for you, buys you some time, like has a little more utility there. Like if you sacrifice it to your 1 mana spell that where you sacrifice an artifact or a creature and you destroy anything else, like you're not totally losing a full card out of that. Like I think those two drops can be pretty important. But you're definitely not like scouring the bottom of the barrel for any two drop you can find because it's so important to get on the board. So what about color balance? How do you feel about color balance?
Uh, I think most of the like I don't think any I'm not avoiding any colors. I in the early stages and leading up, I thought green looked the best, so I'm like happiest taking green cards, and I think red to me looks the most sort of specialized in what it does. So I'm not looking to be like taking a bunch of red cards in the beginning. I usually prefer red cards as a support color in this format.
Like your red cards supplement the strategy that you're looking at going into.
Exactly. So I don't want to. I'm not looking to be like the red drafter, and not to say you
Mm,
can't be, but just like all else being equal, I don't think that's the best place to be. But if people are passing you like Nova Hellkite and whatever else, like yeah, obviously
yeah,
take those
I'll
and
take those.
crunch them. But yeah, there are many good red cards. I just think a higher than otherwise the other colors portion of the red cards are like either synergy pieces or more supportive cards. than the other colors.
Yeah, I think I found with this format that I am really comfortable being in green, black, blue, or red, and I've mostly been straying away from white. But that's because I don't think this format lends itself to some of the themes that white is doing. But I will say, like, you can get a lot of really premium white cards that push you over the top, and white has some of the best uncommons in the format. Um, so I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily avoiding anything in particular, but I do have like some early preferences. But I mean, those could change as well as the format grows. Um, I wouldn't say there's anything that I am avoiding in general, though. Like, I will play whatever's open, and I think you and I have a similar philosophy when it comes to playing early stages of limited, which is we try to take what we feel is the objectively best card in the pack, instead of having preferences in the beginning of the format, so you can start to understand like what those cards look like in like archetypes where they potentially flourish. It's the same reason why we take rares that we might not be super high on or we might not know are that good, just to try them out. Have that personal experience. Um, what about removal?
Yeah, so you and I talked about this before we played our pre-release event, and I was talking to you about the speed of the format, and you mostly agreed. Uh, and I think removal is pretty premium, but there is quite a bit of it. But I think the sort of size of your removal or uh, flexibility of your removal is more important than efficiency in this set. Like, you want to be able to kill the big thing. Of course, cheaper removal is nice, but it also depends on the curve of your deck. But I've generally been happier with, like, we'll get into a bit more later, but like orbital plunge instead of plasma bolt or bombard as an
Which is
example.
very strange if you think about like older limited sensibilities. Like you would almost always want the shock versus the like 4 mana deal 6, right? Um,
Well, yeah, it's counter to what we've experienced in the past for sure.
well, and I think another question you answered in that is removal is still good in this format. We have seen formats historically in the last like couple of years that haven't where removal hasn't been really that good. I think LCI is the biggest example of that. Where things like Join the Dead, that was a 1 black give -5/-5 at instant speed, and that card was like not that good in that format. It was fine, like you played it, but it
Well,
wasn't
like
something that you were
even look
actively
at
picking up.
Murders at Karlov Manor, and Murder was in the set, but it was like a really medium card, and every other set it's been printed in, it was the best black common by like a long ways. And yeah,
That's a
we
great
have
point.
seen sets like that.
I didn't realize that Murder wasn't that good in Murders at Karloff Manor, which is hilarious. I guess when there's a bunch of detectives on the scene, outright murder just isn't as enticing. Um,
Yeah, gonna get caught.
So there's a big card type in Edge of Eternities that we wanted to talk about as well, and that's spacecrafts. And are they good? I'm going to go first here since I've let Jared go first on the other four. Um, my take on spacecrafts right now is that the spacecrafts that give you something when they come into play are generally speaking okay. Like they have moments where they can be really good and really strong, and some of them are, as you go up the rarity scale, some of them get quite a lot better. But I'd say when you're looking at commons and uncommons, the ones that give you something when they come into play, I'm generally speaking relatively happy to put in my deck. Um, the ones that are just stats, like, or mostly stats, like maybe they give you something when they come into play, but it isn't really that substantial. Those ones I haven't really been that impressed by. I don't know what your take on those on spacecrafts is, but I wanted to get out in front of you
For
here.
sure. I mostly agree. I think maybe I'm slightly higher on them than you are. Uh, in my experience, having a big flyer is one of the best ways to win in this format. I think I found the ground gets stalled out pretty frequently, especially if it's two non-green decks. I find you often just have like 4 or 5 creatures staring at each other on the ground, and so having all spacecrafts fly, for the record, and
Yes.
having the biggest flyer or being able to make attacks in the air is a pretty successful way to win. And like for example, the red spacecraft that doesn't do anything but stations for 4 and is a 6/5 flying
It's
haste
3.
3. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Like I think that card is amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're pretty close on how we feel about them. I might be a little lower than you, but I will say like one thing that you brought up that I very much agree with is that this format can be pretty board stall heavy, and like that lends itself to flying being way better than it might be in other formats.
Mhm.
And I will say like the like some of the spaceships that you might play like end up playing better in certain archetypes. Like I don't think you can
For
just
sure.
pick up colorless spaceships and call them good. Like the Pinnacle kill ship, the 7 mana spaceship that does 10 damage. I think that card actually has a ton of places where it can be really excellent, um, but it definitely doesn't fit in every archetype. Um, I will say like I have been a little underwhelmed with maybe like the spacecrafts that don't provide as much swing in terms of power and toughness. So like the 2 mana spacecraft that surveils 2 when it comes into play, like I don't like that card, even though it's a really low station cost. Like 2 mana 2/2 flyer that is basically on layaway just doesn't feel good enough. Um, but
I
I
agree.
but I will say, like in defense of spacecrafts, playing them just for their power and toughness, uh, the rare like 2 and a green spacecraft, the 4/5, that when it attacks you put a creature into play. I've played that card when I didn't really have like a bunch of like higher end creatures to cheat into play, because 4/5 flyer is actually just really good stats in this format. Like that's
Yeah.
something that you're actively looking for. So another reason like 2 drops are still important in this format is because playing to the board earlier means that you are able to station your spacecrafts earlier on average, right?
And also stationing often comes at the trade-off of your life total. Like you often will station for a turn. You might not fully turn on your spacecraft, but you will next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then your opponent like can attack you if they want to. And you obviously can't make that play if your life total is low. And I found a few times playing white decks specifically that my opponents had a bunch of spacecraft and they could just never station them ever because I they would just die.
Yes, yeah. So they do come with inherent risk. They're not all upside, but there are spacecrafts that are good, and you should be on the lookout for them. And I'd say, as a rule of thumb, they're generally spacecrafts that do something when they come into play. So things like the Uthros spaceship, like the 3 and a blue, it's a 4/4 when it's fully stationed, but it draws 2 and puts 1, and you draw 2, discard 1. Like it is pretty analogous to Magic card or side quest card collection from the last set from Final Fantasy. Um, but yeah, I think like in terms of do we like spacecrafts, I think that's something we might as well answer here. Um, so far I'm liking them. I think they're pretty interesting, like and dynamic when it comes to the gameplay. Like whether or not you station something, I found to be a question that I've had to ask myself quite a lot in this format. Um, and I've definitely won games where my opponent stationed where I didn't think that they should have stationed, right? So I think like that adds a layer to the form of complexity of the format that I'm finding interesting in the moment. I don't really know how that's going to play out like going later into the actual draft format though. What about you?
I think the closest analogies to spacecraft are vehicles and battles, and I like spacecraft better than both of those.
Yes.
Um,
Definitely.
so like if this is something they want to do, I'd rather see spacecraft or something like spacecraft than either vehicles or battles. I think they're fine. Um, and I find it a little awkward in any limited set where like one of the core mechanics is like something that is sort of a creature but not a creature, and I feel like it's kind of tough because one of the key things to limited, unless you're doing something really specific and unique, is that you need a bunch of creatures in your deck. And you also want
Yes.
some removal spells in your deck. So whenever the core mechanic of a set is something that isn't a creature and isn't a removal spell, it's like just has really limited slots and applications because the key pieces of limited are creatures and removal spells. So
Yeah, and that's why I think things like vehicles don't really land with me that much, especially when they first did it. Like they just over juiced the vehicles in the set in terms of how many they put in, but their power level wasn't like there to match. And so you ended up just ignoring them for most of the format. Like you would play the obviously very good ones. Like if you open Smuggler's Copter, you would play a Smuggler's Copter, but like a lot of the vehicles in that set were just like not, you wouldn't even look at them when you were looking at your pack. You know what I mean? Like they were never considerations.
yeah, and to a similar extent, equipment does the same, but with stuff like job select and the equipment that like make a creature and attach to it. You can count those as creatures. So I think that's a good way around it for more
Definitely.
general sets.
And if we wanted to turn this into the gush about how amazing Final Fantasy was as a limited format, we definitely could do that. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the 10 archetypes in Edge of Eternities, and then we'll be going into a little more analysis in general. So let me just move. Here we go. So our first archetype, and let's just you'll introduce the next one, Jer. So I'll introduce this one. It's blue red. We have the blue red signpost uncommon. Um, Anon Uthros exile. I think I nailed that. 3 mana 1/3 flyer. When an artifact you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. One blue and a red to be specific. Uh, I when we played pre-release, the two-headed giant pre-release, we had two of these in our pool. Notably, if you're playing two-headed giant, this targets any creature. So Jera was able to play Menon, and then also play artifacts that grew my creatures that were attacking. So incredible job there. In terms of the current draft format, I think blue red can be solid, but I feel like you're missing a lot when it comes to like harder removal. I don't think Lost in Space is as good as we've seen those 4 mana like put a creature on the top or bottom of the opponent's library effects have been. It's still pretty good, but uh I think you do miss a lot of potential interaction with like larger flyers and creatures in general. That means that your 4 mana, your orbital plunge, like is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting. But this deck is a pretty high synergy deck, and you can definitely kill people really fast with blue red. So I wouldn't sleep on this, and I think this signpost is something that if you wanted to try a blue red, I would recommend taking it early. But I think generally speaking, when I'm looking at a pack right now, I'm not gonna take this card first pick. I'll likely take it, third, fourth, or fifth. What about you, Jer?
Maybe slightly higher on it than you are. I did a sealed on Arena and built a blue red deck and had this in my deck, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think currently, at least in my experience, you can get a bunch of the synergy pieces for this deck late because especially the blue and red artifact cards I found come around late. Like I'm wheeling but a bunch of them that are playable, so you can spend your first picks on like the removal spells and the stuff that people need to fight over, and then you can get your artifact density kind of with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I found it to be pretty good and pretty draftable for the most part.
Yeah, I think one thing this deck is really missing is I wish that 2 mana defender creature, the 2 mana 3/2, I wish it was a 3/3. I think as a 3/2, it's just so much less impactful as like a potential attacker. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would be happy if I ended up in blue red if that's what my seat gave me. Like if I had like one or two of this signpost uncommon, and I had a couple of or one or two of the Kavu, I'm cooking. I'm happy. And flying being really relevant in this format. If you play this card alongside another flyer and you're putting counters on that other flyer, like they have a really hard decision between killing what, like basically removing what's actually killing them versus removing what will eventually kill them again anyways, right? Like
Mhm.
our in the two-headed giant, our opponents found that same thing where like you just put a bunch of counters on one of my creatures and it's like, well, do they kill the creature that's providing the counters or do they kill the creature that got the counters, right? Um,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Let's move into
Blue, white. Um, it's a little small. You will have to read it. I know roughly what it does, but
so it's Station Monitor. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying, and this token can block only creatures with flying.
uh, yeah, I think this card is really good. Um, it's the I think this archetype has played out better currently than it does in most other sets. Um, with warp especially, and both white and blue have a pretty high density of warp cards. It's pretty easy to double spell, and it also makes double spelling in the later game easier because you put cards on layaway that you get to cast again later. Making flyers, this is going to be a continual theme we talk about throughout this overview. Flyers are good. Um, even 1/1 flyers that only block flyers are good. Oftentimes you'll be able to like just clog up the ground and get in with your army of little
Mm-hmm.
guys. Um, yeah, I think this card is very very good, and I would be happy to first pick it.
I totally agree. I've been really impressed with blue white as an archetype. I think warp is a big thing, but also blue white has a bunch of random 1 mana spells that you're pretty happy playing. Cryo Shatter being a big one, but you're really happy with Seam Rip. Uh, Usually, I'm happy with like one or two of the 1 mana 1/1 flyers if I'm playing blue white. That sacks to draw card. Uh, I'll get the name for that in just a second here. Um, the Ilvoy Gale Blade. Uh, so there are a lot of moments where you do get to double spell with this card, and the because you can play this card as your first spell and then cast your second spell and immediately get a trigger. You can play around opponents' removal in specific ways. Like I've definitely played a couple of games of blue white where I led on a different 2 drop, and then my turn 3 I play Station Monitor and I cryo shatter their blocker, and it you just feel so far ahead even if they end up removing your Station Monitor. Like the flyer matters so much, as you were talking about. um they generally speaking have to do that on their turns that
And it's only 2 mana.
yeah, like and it's a 2/2. Like so it does have a relevant enough body as well when it comes to, potentially attacking or blocking. Like if you play this on turn 2 on the play, and they don't have a removal spell for it, then maybe you just play a 2 and a 1 or 2/1s. A lot of the time I've found with Station Monitor, even late, I'm pretty happy to go Station Monitor into another 2 drop or a 3 drop. Uh, this card is just really high value, and I definitely would take it first pick. Like, and I'm pretty high on it too. So
One thing of note in this deck is you often want to sandbag your ones to get the double spell bonus. I found if you have the density of those cards, not only for Station Monitor, but it's the blue white theme. Yeah, I found keeping your 1 drops in hand to activate is often worthwhile.
I totally agree. I recently had a game where I had Giga Storm Titan in my hand along with the Ilvoy Galeblade, and I didn't play the Galeblade on turn 1 because I wanted to be able to play my 2 mana 4/4 on turn 3. So I think that those same types of things can apply for the monitor and all of the other payoff cards. But that's a great thing to point out. And I would say even sometimes it might not be worth it to play a 2-drop when you have like another 2-drop in hand that you want to play on turn 4 or whatever. It's really dynamic. Like there's no one size fits all thing that we could say here, but there are a lot of moments where you probably shouldn't be casting a spell because you want that double spell trigger.
Yeah.
We're moving into green white. I'm just gonna read the card and then like you can
I
talk
I
about
have I have it up now. I
Oh,
can
you do. Okay,
participate.
okay. So I'll read this one, then you can read the next one.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Halia Ascendant Cadet. It's 2 green white white. Whenever Halia enters or attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. And whenever one or more creatures you control with a 1/1 counter on them deal combat damage to a player, draw a card, and it's a 3/3. So at minimum, nothing else on the board. This is a 4/4.
Attacks as a 5/5.
Attacks as a 5/5. I like Halia. I think Halia is not the strongest of the signpost uncommons, um, but this is a card that really pays you off for being in that synergy archetype. Green white has a lot of cards that come with incidental counters or work with counters, and Halia just is a really nice, solid payoff card. Again, I wouldn't say like I don't know if this is something I'm picking super highly, like pack one, pick one. I think if there was uh like a better removal spell in the pack that I might take it over Halia. But I've been pretty impressed with this card in terms of it being on the other side of the table. I haven't actually gotten to play green white as an archetype yet, but I've played against it a reasonable amount, and this card is always scary when it comes into play.
I'll mostly agree. I think I'm slightly higher on it than you are. I don't think I would first pick it, but I think like pack 2, if I'm in green white from pack 1,
Oh
I
yeah.
will slam it for sure. Yeah, if they don't remove it, it's such a beating. Um, it's hard to beat in combat. The chances that you get to draw a card the turn you play it are very high. Like, yeah, I think it's very good.
Well, if you draw a card to replace itself, at that point, if they remove it for even like 3 mana, then they had to spend 3 mana on their turn most likely because they're not going to let you untap because there's a bunch of like common and
Protection
uncommon protection
spells.
spells. Uh, but you got to draw a card out of that exchange, right? So like you might be a little mana negative, but you ultimately got to draw the card and get a 1/1 counter. Like that's just really good. So I totally agree with you. I am a little lower on it, but such is life. We'll move on into green black.
All right. Seed Ship Brood Tender, green black for a 2/3. When this enters, you mill 3 cards. And then it has an activated ability 3 green black and sacrifice this creature. Return target creature or spacecraft card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. This card is pretty similar to the signpost card from Aetherdrift. That one was not a creature and milled you 1 each upkeep. This just mills you 3 on ETB. I think this card's really good. I found green black to not be very synergy at all. Unlike in Final Fantasy, where green black was like very in on using the graveyard and self milling and getting value and caring about things in the graveyard. This is like kind of the only card that I care about that uses the graveyard. I can't even think of another one right now,
Uh,
but
yeah.
it's not that important if
Right.
there are any. So, notably in your green and black cards, you mostly just want to take good cards, and this is a good card. So, yeah, this is another one I would be happy to first pick. I think green and black are probably my picks for the 2 strongest colors. So, yeah, I like this card a lot.
I totally agree with all everything you said. I just think like the rate on this is good enough. 2 mana, 2/3, mill 3, and the thing about cards like this is like at some point they become problems. Like if I play my best card and this is still on the battlefield and you kill my best card, you have to kill this too, right? Like you can't just leave it alone.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this kind of like demands a couple of things from your opponents that I really like. And since the games are really grindy and sloggy, like being able to bring back your, um, your 4/2 black flyer that kills something because of how many
Oh
artifacts
yeah,
you have. Like, what's it
that card's
called?
amazing. Monoist
Um,
Circuit Feeder.
yeah, mono circuit feeder. Like being able to bring that back, or some bomb that you have in your pool. Like I just think this card's great for that. So I totally agree.
And that's
Um,
ignoring the like upside of like you mill your bomb and get to activate it. Like,
yeah, so you theoretically see them more often, and since you're
yeah.
playing green black, you even milling 3 can be good. Like there's the spacecraft that gets things back from your graveyard. So let's say you have like the best black rare in the set, the Elegy Acolyte. If you're playing green black and you have a seed ship brood tender and a the 3 mana spaceship, the fell grav ship, uh you're way more likely to see that Elegy Acolyte in any of your matches or games. So
And you're some percentage to have it multiple times as well. So
definitely. Yeah. So I like the Brood Tender, and I would first pick it as well. I definitely agree. Um, Blue green, we've got the I love this card, Biomechan Engineer. 2 mana, 2/2, so it's a blue and a green. When it enters, you make a lander token, so you're already getting value. And it's 8 mana to draw 2 cards and make a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. I will note that that token is not tapped. A lot of those tokens do come into play tapped in this set, but this one does not. Um, I don't really know what else to say other than this card is a 2 mana 2/2 that makes a piece of material, and it's good late game. That's it. Like it just does it all. And blue green is the ramp color combination as well. Like you really want things that both ramp you and give you payoffs for ramping. And this card does that. Um,
it does both.
when you play this card on turn 2, they are sitting there like, well, I have to kill it eventually because you're going to get to 8 mana. Like that's how the green decks in this format are designed.
And
And
on the other side, like you're not necessarily that unhappy to trade it off if you're under pressure and don't have a lot going on, because it also gave you a lander token. Like you're just up basically no matter what. Like,
so
yeah.
true. And like the biggest problem with ramp decks is a lot of the time your ramp cards like don't scale into the late game, and
Yeah,
this
you
card
like ramp
scales
into nothing.
perfectly. Like
Yeah.
if you think about the difference between this card and Sammy's Curiosity, the 1 green make a lander token, you gain 2 life. Like if I have 10 mana and I draw Sammy's Curiosity, I'm malding. I'm closing my client. I'm quitting Magic forever. If I have 10 mana, I draw Biomechan Engineer on like a stable board state. I literally can't
Chilling.
lose. It's over.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to
I
black. Oh,
for what it's worth, I think Biomech Engineer is the best of these signpost cards.
I'll sign that as well. Also, being 2 mana is like so unreal too, because you can just slip this thing in at any point in your curve. A lot of the time with ramp decks, you have turns where like you have an extra 2 mana, but you still need to play this like big thing to start to stabilize your board. It just does it all. On turn 4, you play this and then you ramp right away. Like I don't know, it's great. This is like
Yeah,
for sure
amazing.
one of the best uncommons, and I would take this first pick over any of these other signposts, and I would take it over most cards in the format.
Agreed.
Black red.
This card's also very good. Interceptor Mechan. 2 black red for a 2/2 flying artifact creature robot. When this creature enters, return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So flying Gravedigger at baseline, which is very good. And then void at the beginning of your end step. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, put a counter on it. And we've if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Flyers are a good way to win in this format. Flyers that get you value is even better. Flyers that grow that get you value, even better still.
And we've been saying the format's grindy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this card's great. Another one I'm happy to first pick. Black and red I've found you can build it either pretty synergy based or just good cards, depending on what your seat allows for.
Yep, I agree.
I know you've said you've drafted it a bunch. What do you think about this card?
This card's really good. The the thing about black red is you're voiding like a lot of the time. Not every turn, but it happens pretty naturally. So if you're more synergy based and you're a little more aggressive, you generally just get like a 2 or a 3 drop back with this, but sometimes you like get your monoist whatever it is, the 6 mana flyer back, and you just
Circuit
like can't
Feeder.
lose the circuit feeder. Yeah, this card's an A. It's so good. I'm
Yep,
I'm a big fan of this. I do think the blue green card is a little better than the biomechan, but I mean like this card is just really excellent, and I would take it first pick any day. Um,
agreed.
Black white, Seer Vondam the Lucent. So we've got a 2 white, black, black, 4/4 with Death Touch, Lifelink. Gives your whole team +1/+1 and Death Touch when it enters or attacks. Um, so I haven't played black white yet, but I have played against a lot of black white decks, and this card is busted in black white. It's really really good. It is, I'd say, a big reason to be in black white. I think you do really want this effect, like the ability to push through your, your dorky little 1/1s that you make off of your uh, white common night luminary. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I have nothing else to say about this card. It's just really really good, and specifically white black. I don't know if I would ever splash for this card. Like sometimes you know maybe if you have the mana, sometimes you splash for signpost on commons. I don't know if I'd necessarily do that with Seer Vondam. I feel like black white is like really the home for this card. So yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
cool.
and it's awkward because you would maybe splash for it in white decks, but probably not in black decks. And since it's double black, it's hard to splash in the decks that would want it. But yeah, I think this is just more what the white decks want than comparing it to Helia, the other white 5-drop
Yeah, I
signpost
agree.
card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's like a good value engine. This card lets you attack and end the game, which is I think what the white decks want and need.
Also, this has sneaky lifelink, um, because you only ever think about the death touch because of the triggered ability. Uh,
Yeah.
all right, let's move into blue black.
Alpharel, Dreaming Acolyte, 1 blue black for a legendary human cleric. When it enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. During your turn, Alpharel has Death Touch. I think this card is fine. I think it's one of the mopier ones, personally. Um, it has the potential to get you card advantage, but you don't always want to discard your artifacts. Um, and the fact that it doesn't block especially well, I don't know. I'm kind of low on this one.
I'm actually
What?
pretty low on this card too. I totally agree with you. It's weird. I thought I would be higher on it, but I've played it a couple of times and it's been super underwhelming every time. Like not horrible, like not bad.
It's not a bad card, but like yeah, like this is a card like you kind of get as a reward for being blue black,
Agreed.
but I unlike some of the other signpost cards, I'm not like opening this up and being like, "Oh, sick. The blue black signpost card." I'm like when I get this like 7th pick in pack 2, I'm like, "Sick. I'm the only blue black drafter."
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I have no more notes. Red white. We have Sammy, ship's engineer. It's 2 white, red, 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. I'm just gonna say next. Get me out of here. I'm not a huge fan of this card. I think getting your creatures tapped, 2 of them, is just like not really the easiest thing in the world to do. I can see this card like popping off. Um, but also I don't like know if I really value the 2/2 colorless robot being made every turn in this format where we've already identified that I kind of want to be killing people with flyers a lot of the time, ideally. I don't know how you feel about this
Interesting.
card, but
I think this card is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't drafted white red, but I've died to this card in conjunction with a card that I think you get for free. The battle cry one. It's like two and a white for an instant. Give all your creatures +2/+0, and if they're
Oh, I see. So
tapped,
you're looking at
untap.
this like a
There's
combo card.
sort of just
Zealous
like
display.
an enabler for the go wide deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the other ways you can win is just like creating a wide board and going around the green decks. Um, yeah, I think there's enough ways to get your creatures tapped that it is possible to just do this every turn. Either with stationing, like you can continue stationing even if your thing's already a creature. You
Good thing to
can
note. Yep.
there's tap abilities. Um, yeah, I think this card's pretty good and potentially enables that archetype. So I will say red white is not my favorite of the places to be. I think red, as I've said before, it's kind of best as a support color, and white I think needs the right kind of help to be able to get over the line. And if you get the right red cards, your deck can be amazing and feel unbeatable. But I think the right red cards are the ones that are going to be contested the most. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, I think if you get the red white deck, it's probably one of the best decks in the format. But I just think it's not going to come together that often. But I think that deck probably has as many copies of this as are opened in the draft. So
Okay. I can see that. I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, like neither of us having played white red is obviously not ideal for our evaluation on this. So stay tuned. Well, maybe we'll let you know who was right because I'm the hater for sure. But let's move on uh, to red green.
Tanuk Memorial Ensign, one red green for a legendary Kavu pilot. It's a 2/4. Has a landfall ability. Whenever a land you control enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card. I think this card is quite good. I thought I was going to be higher on it than I am. I think it's only pretty good. You really, really want a lot of lander tokens with this card, and because you really like the 1 damage is whatever you want to draw cards. Um, yeah, I think it's pretty good, but not like cuckoo bananas amazing or anything.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis. It's good. It definitely has its moments, but I think there's also this like kind of awkwardness around like turns where you play a land, you're really incentivized to crack a lander token, but that means you're not advancing your board state. So like depending on the state of the game, it can be a little tougher. But yeah, I mean like this, it's I'm never gonna be like that disappointed to have a Tanook hanging around in my deck, right?
Totally. If you're green red, you want it, but I wouldn't classify this as one of the ones where like I'm slam dunk first picking this.
I agree. Okay, so I think that has us moving into our current draft priorities with um, all of that discussion. So we wanted to ask a couple of questions, like when it looks when we're drafting, like does bread hold up? Bread is a heuristic for limited, uh, which basically says like your pick order should generally be bombs, removal, creatures with evasion. Um, what's
And
A
anything
again?
else,
Anything
I don't
else?
know,
I don't know.
dregs.
And then D is like literally the D's. like
Yeah,
I think for the most part,
or like
bread holds
average
up
maybe.
in this
Yeah,
format. Um,
I think so.
I want to take the bombs. The removal is good. A lot of the removal is good. There is a lot of it, like you said. And then
The
flying is really good, so evasion's really good.
Yeah. The formats where bread doesn't hold up are typically very high synergy formats. Like I think Final Fantasy was a pretty high synergy format. I think uh I can't think of another one right now off the top of my head, but like most formats, bread holds up. That's
Bloomborough,
like
for example.
I didn't play that one, but I believe it.
Yes, yeah.
Um, I did one flashback draft one time. Um, yeah, and so generally when you're like having to take like a synergy card over like anything else because that's what will make your deck function, that's when bread doesn't hold up. And for me, this is like a good stuff format. Like by and large, you just want to take the best card in your colors. Um, Sometimes the best card in your colors changes because of synergy, and but like very rarely will I want to take like a synergy piece over a good removal spell or a bomb.
Yeah, I totally agree with your analysis. The and moving into like the curve considerations as well. I think we kind of talked about this earlier as well. Um, I'm pretty happy having my curve be a little higher in this format, but I definitely don't want to skimp on twos and below.
So it's kind of interesting. What I found is I usually end up with lots of threes and fours in basically every deck I'm in. So I've started prioritizing like making sure I have enough twos and also making sure I have enough like fives and sixes
Yeah,
slash
totally.
like ways to actually end a game. Like we've noted several times that this format tends to lead to board stalls. So like one of the things I'm prioritizing is like, how am I going to break the board stall and win? And often that's high curve things.
Yeah, like the 7 mana Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Yeah, and just assuming I'll have enough like 3 and 4 drop dummies. Like,
Glacier Godmaw. Yep.
yeah,
No,
that
I
card's
agree. Like if you want,
silly.
it's kind of like in Final Fantasy where 4 drops you just always ended up with enough in your deck. This format does feel like threes and fours specifically you really don't need to like be looking for. Like you'll find threes and fours to fill out your curves. So ones, twos, and fives and sixes are a little bit higher priority in the draft. I mean, I'm not going to take a 2 drop over a really good 3 or 4 drop, but you know, like
No,
if the call is close, generally speaking, I lean towards what you're talking about as well. Um,
yeah.
and then bombs versus removal. I don't really know where you wanted to go with this, if I'm being honest.
So this one we wanted to talk about like how good the bombs are and like how bomby is the format and the sort of next like level 2 question to that is like how good is the removal, because if the bombs are really good and the removal's really good, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
okay because like the removals can kill the bombs. If the bombs are really good and the removal's really bad, then the format can feel really bomby because your opponent plays something and there's like not many ways to get
It's
rid of it.
impossible to beat and it's impossible to remove. Yeah.
And so I think the bombs are pretty good in this set, but also the removal's really good. So I think like most of the time there are answers. One thing I will say is there's like a lot of sweepers in this format,
Yeah.
which is kind of unusual. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, Especially if you're playing a white deck, is consider not overextending too far.
Yeah, there's like 5 sweepers in the format or something, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with you. I will say uh I've actually been really impressed with the uncommons in this format. Like I think this format is like some formats I'm really happy to take a common first pick. And I think for the most part I'm not that happy in this format to do that. I think I really want to be taking a rare or an uncommon first pick. And so like even though the bombs and removal are definitely equal, I think then what that means is like how many good uncommons did you pick up is going to be a really big differentiator in terms of your power level, because on average
Yeah,
everyone should have like an average amount of bombs, whatever that means, right? um so yeah, uh I've been really impressed with the uncommons in this format. That's the only thing I would add.
I
um
agree.
how important are synergies in this format? I'm going to go first. I don't think synergies are that important, but I think they are present and they are important to recognize when they exist and where they exist, and like, because if the especially if the format ends up being a little slower, like your games are slower, recognizing inherent synergies and when to take them and when not to take them is a really big deal. um so I don't think this format is like overall inherently synergistic. There are some decks that are definitely really synergy driven, but even earlier when you were talking about black red, like theoretically that should be a synergy based deck that is a like sacrifice artifact focus theme deck, but you can just play good cards in black red and still be really successful. And I'd say maybe there are some archetypes that are definitely more synergy driven. Like if you're playing blue white, I think you really do want to be playing like multi-spell uh multi-spell like archetype. um but yeah, that's how I feel about synergies. What about you?
Yeah, I mostly agree. I don't think it's that high on the synergy spectrum.
Cool. So let's move on to, we have some underrated and overrated cards here. The top cards we think are underrated, and the bottom cards we think are overrated. So um I'll talk about let's see. I'll talk about Perigee, Beckoner, and Weftblade Enhancer, and you can talk about Cryo Shatter. So Weftblade Enhancer is a 5 and a white 3/4. When it enters, you put 2/1/1 counters on any target creatures, on each of up to 2 target creatures, and you can warp it for 2 and a white. I think this card is underrated because every time I've played against it, it feels like I'm dying when they when they warp it or they cast it. I think this is one of the best ways for white to get its creatures to a size where the creatures are able to rumble consistently into whatever their opponent is doing. So I've just been pretty happy with this. It's not aces or anything. Like this card's still like whatever. Like, but I'd say it's like I've been getting it pretty late. I've been seeing it late, and it's been killing me pretty often. So, what about
One
Cryo
one
Shadow? Oh,
one thing I'll note is that there aren't a lot of other common sort of big cards like this for white, and so this is kind of one of the only options at common. So if you don't get like a rare or uncommon to fill this slot, this is sort of what you have.
yeah, I agree.
Cryo Shatter, I think, is just great.
Yep.
They've been printing a lot of these like 1 mana pseudo blue removal spells recently. Sleep Magic, most recently in Final Fantasy. Unable to Scream and Duskborn is another one. Uh, this card is very good. I'll say what it does. It's a single blue aura, enchant creature. Enchant creature gets -5/-0. And this piece of text is so crucial. When it becomes tapped or is dealt damage, destroy it. Uh, it's really hard for your opponent to let a creature sit around doing literally nothing uh, without blocking or using a tap ability or anything. So frequently, this is going to get to block once and then die. Uh, and it's notably amazing in the double spell deck because it costs 1 mana. Yeah, just great.
Yeah, no notes card is really really good. Um, so for Perigee Beckoner, we've got a 4 and a black. It's a 4/5. When it comes to play, you give another creature +2/+0, and when that creature dies, it gets returned to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, and you can warp it for 1 and a black. Now, Jer is definitely lower on this card than I am, maybe by a lot. And I will say this card isn't like unreal amazing, but I've been pretty happy with one or two of these in my black red decks. Funnily enough, uh, it's weird. It lets you get in a little bit of extra damage, but it also gives you you have play patterns where, like, let's say on turn 2 you play a 2 drop and they play something that you want to get, you can't really get past. You play this, you can attack, but let's say you want to remove that 2 drop or that 3 drop, and you have the sacrifice card in your hand. You get a free like sacrifice from that interaction. So I think there's just a lot of like small ways that this card works in the red black deck, but I think it you might need to be more in the sacrifice theme. I'd also say that this card is part of an infinite combo that exists in the format. If you have 2 Perigee Beckoners in play, and you have a the 2 mana 3/2 sack outlet creature.
Umbral Collar Zealot.
Yes. If you have the Zealot, the Umbral Caller Zealot, 2 G Beckoners, and one of the cards that drains when a creature comes into play or deals damage when a creature comes into play, you can infinitely sack G Beckoner to itself. Or sorry, you can
You alternate sacking Perigee
yes.
Beckoners,
So
and the
like you
other
have
one
one that comes
brings
into
it back.
play, gives one the ability, then you sack that one, it comes back into play, gives the other one the other ability. Um, so there is like a weird infinite combo you can do. I don't know how real that is. I'm sure it's happened, but it does contain a bunch of cards that are okay. So I think it's like more real to think about than not.
Yeah,
Um,
like all the cards are just playable. So if you happen to open them in sealed or get them in draft, like you can just have an infinite combo in your deck. It's not going to happen very often, but
totally. Um, okay, do we want
up
to
ne-
move? Oh, sorry.
up next we have Focus Fire. This is a white removal spell that deals damage to attacking or blocking creatures. The reason we think it's overrated is because we think white mostly wants to be attacking, and these you don't want to kill their creature after it's blocked. You want to remove their creature and then attack and get damage through. Um, if you aren't a defensive grindy or you just opened like 17 bombs in your white deck, yeah, you can play this and it's a good efficient removal spell. It's harder to blow out because the amount of 2 plus the amount of creatures in spacecraft you have is quite a bit. It's very likely to kill the thing you need to, but there will be definitely be times where it does not kill the thing you
Yeah,
need
I've already
to.
done it, which was hilarious. But
And
yeah, you can blow this out.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. For our next one, Cryogen Relic, it's 1 in blue. It's an artifact. When it comes to play, you draw a card. When it leaves play, you also draw a card. And then it has an ability where you pay 1 in blue and sack it. You put a stun counter on up to one target tapped creature. The reason we think this is overrated is uh it is really good. Like Cryogen Relic is a good card. Like I'm happy with it in a bunch of different spots. And it is card advantage, so like it has a lot going for it, but like I don't know. I think it's just a little too overrated right now. Like I don't know if I would take Cryogen Relic over premium removal spell or most of the signpost uncommons that we just went through. There are a lot of other cards I think I would take over this. So but I think people are probably taking it way too highly. And if you look at the 17 lands data, like this is 59.5 game in hand win percentage, which like I think that means the card has to be overrated, and people are just over like it's good, but it's definitely not that good.
I agree. Up next, we have Comet Crawler, 2 and a black for a 2/3 lifelink. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, this creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. This creature's just kind of mopey.
Yeah, this card sucks.
The effect is awkward. Lifelink is good, but yeah, um, it could be good if you have like the absolute synergiest red black deck or white black sack deck, but I think those will be pretty hard to come together, and you might play this as like your 23rd card or whatever. But
The reason
yeah,
this is on the list is because people keep playing it against me, and this card sucks. Stop putting it in your deck. It's either your 23rd card, or you should just rip it up and move on. Okay.
wow.
uh, next
All
up we
right,
have I want you to talk about orbital
yeah.
plunge.
So I call shot at Orbital Plunge before we played a single event. I told Trent Plasma Bolt stinks, Bombard is okay, and Orbital Plunge is better than both of them. And he's like, okay, bud, whatever. And turns out I, at least so far, am correct. Um, yeah, just dealing 6 kills basically everything you need to kill, and the amount you basically always get a lander token, which is very nice for turning on landfall abilities, fixing mana, getting to your late game bombs. Just does a lot. So
I'm not going to add anything to that. I'm just going to eat my vegetables and start talking about Plasma Bolt. Plasma Bolt is a red. It deals 2 damage to any target. It's a sorcery and deals 3 damage if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped. Um, it's okay. Plasma Bolt is fine. It's not something that you want a lot of. and it can be good in some matchups, but realistically, it just so many times it doesn't kill what you want it to kill. Like I cannot tell you how many times I've been stuck with a plasma bolt in hand. Like the difference between this and tragic trajectory, where the tragic trajectory can at least kill something like really big if you've triggered void, is like night and day. And I'm taking my third orbital plunge over my first plasma bolt any day of the week, and I'm writing Jer an I'm sorry letter, and it's in the mail right now. Because I did chuckle and go, yeah, all right, whatever, man. Like, you think a 4 mana removal spell is going to be better than this 1 mana shock that becomes lightning bolt? Anyways, uh, I'll let you talk about Ice Cave Crasher, but we both have very similar sentiments.
Yeah, we both really like this card. It's one of the sort of thematically why we think green is really good. It's just got really well statted creatures. 3 and a green for a 4/4 trample landfall. Whenever land you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0. It's really easy to set up situations where your opponent has to double block to kill this, and this kills both of their creatures. Because it has trample, it's really hard to chump block. It's going to do a really good job at getting in a bunch of damage if left unchecked. It comes down before basically any other color has creatures that can beat this in combat. It's often going to trade up with more expensive creatures in combat. Yeah, just very solid all around card that looks pretty innocuous, but lines up pretty well against most things in this format.
Yeah, like it I think it's underrated because it's definitely better than people think it is. It isn't like unreal good. It's just really solid. Like I've been really happy every time I play this guy, right?
Yep.
Um that brings us to Thoughtbringer. I'll bring us home with this one. It's a 3 mana 4/2. So its stats are kind of tough. And yes, it does surveil when it enters or dies. So it's 2 and a green, 4/2 when it enters or dies, surveil 1. Um, I think the problem I have with this card is like I've seen it a lot, but like if you play a Thoughtbringer against me and I played a Beamsaw Prospector that 1 in a black 2/1 that makes a lander token, like I'm literally laughing at you. Like I'm actually laughing at you uh, through the monitor. um, so I think this body can be impressive in some matchups and in some board states, and I am happy to play a Thawbringer in my green deck. Like I'm okay with that. Like it's fine. Like there is some level of like surveilling is good. So I'm a little higher on it than Jera's, but overall, like this card is definitely overrated. Like people think like this people play this card against me all the time. And again, I play the Beamsaw Prospector, I'm laughing. Also, it's a card that dies to Plasma Bolt, which is like one of the worst red removal spells. Like um I don't know if you have anything to add to the Sawbringer.
No
All
notes.
right. Early format feelings. How good is it? I'll go first. It's reasonable. I've been like I think the format itself is like pretty decent so far, but I'm waiting to see how it settles out. We came off of Final Fantasy, which in my opinion is one of the best draft formats they've
All
ever made.
timer for
It's
sure.
definitely an all timer for me. So, coming off of all timers, you have to like try and be as objective as possible, but it's really challenging. So, I'd say like if the format is what it feels like right now, I would say that this is just a good format. Solid.
Yeah, like 6.5 out of 10.
Yep. Replayability wise, I think when this flashbacks, I might play 1 or 2, but I'm probably not going beyond that. And I don't know how much of this format I'm going to play after like it's been quote unquote solved. Whereas with Final Fantasy, I was playing until literally they stopped me on Arena. So I'd say replayability out of 10. I'm probably giving it like yeah a 6.5. Like it's
Yeah,
somewhat
I'd say even
replayable.
lower for replayability for me because of the spacecrafts and stuff. I feel like once you've done it, I'm not going to be rushing back to do it again.
Totally. Do you think there are any secret archetypes? I haven't noticed any personally, but
I haven't yet either. I think it's possible. I think they're trying to do it more. I think it's possible there's like some like lander 5 color deck that people haven't figured out yet.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen any yet, but the Lander 5 color deck is something I was thinking about the other day. So, um, and the biggest question of all, are you having fun, Jer?
Yeah, I think the games have been pretty interesting so far. Like, I like games where the board gets pretty stalled out and you have to make decisions and like solve the puzzle of how to break the board stall. I think these formats are pretty interesting every once in a while. You definitely don't want to go overboard on them because often like the rounds last a long time, the games last a long time. Um, it
Hmm.
often comes down to like who drew their bomb and who drew 4 lands in a row. But
Yeah,
if
I've been feeling that.
when that doesn't happen, the games can be pretty interesting and there's a lot of choices to make. So yeah, I like it so far, but as we've both said, I'm not sure once it leaves I'll be rushing back.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at as well. I've been finding this. I think the most fun I have in limited formats is when they feel like a um there is a lot of room for skill expression. Um and this format has a decent amount of room for that, but I don't think it's like as high as it could be. Like I've definitely been losing a lot of games where like, oh, I just lost because I drew 4 lands in a row, or I lost to, oh, they just have like a deck with 12 uncommons and a couple of bombs, right? Like I think there are a couple of things in there that I'm feeling. Um, Even though I've been having a moderate amount of success with the format, like I have 2-1'd most of the traditional drafts that I've been playing, and I have a couple of trophy decks as well. So um, I think the thing that has been the most fun in the format for me is the dynamic gameplay around like stationing spacecraft specifically. I think when that decision is like really interesting to me, when you should and when you shouldn't station your spacecrafts. And I like that when I make the right decision, it feels like I'm getting rewarded for really tight gameplay. And when I make the wrong decision, it's like, oh, okay, I lost because I like did this thing and I probably shouldn't have. Or
Yep.
I like that like sometimes I'll station something and I'm just making a calculated risk based on the current game state where I feel like I need to station the spacecraft the next turn or whatever to win, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, I'd say I've been having a decent amount of fun too. Like 7 out of 10. I mean, I love
Yeah.
limited and you do too, so it's kind of hard to not have fun at the beginnings of a format, but we'll see how long we're playing it for.
Yeah.
um Okay, I think that ends our presentation. Yep, we have nothing else to do. So, uh, thank you so much for watching our video on Edge of Eternities Limited. This is a bonus piece of content, so don't worry. We're still going to have Highlander content for you um, at the regular clip. But we really loved chatting about Limited. So if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you, and we'd love to chat with you in the comments about the format. Or if you have questions, feel free to toss them in the comments as well. Like we can try to answer them there. Jared, do you want to end on anything before we head out?
Nope. Yeah. We covered
Great.
it all.
Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.